Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Guru Das met an estate agent with a building on Berry Place, near the British Museum. The devotees could move in immediately. An ideal location, £41 a week, and immediate occupancy. It was wonderful. Shamasunda got a letter from George on Apple Corporation Limited stationery, stating that Apple would guarantee payments if the devotees defaulted. Within a week, the devotees had a 5-story building in central London. But when they went to live in their new centre at Berry Place, city officials said they did not have the proper housing permits. The red tape could take weeks, even months. Then John Lennon suggested that the devotees come and live with him at Tittenhurst, a large estate he had recently purchased near Ascot. He needed some renovation done, and if the devotees would help, he could give them a place to live. John Lennon's estate, formerly owned by the Cadbury family, consisted of 76 acres of lawn and forest, with a large manor and many smaller buildings. John and his wife Yoko lived in the manor. The servants' quarters, where Prabhupada and the devotees were to live, were 4 separate apartments in a single narrow building near the manor. About 15 devotees moved in, reserving one apartment for Prabhupada and his servant. Only a few weeks before Prabhupada's arrival in London, the record Hare Krishna mantra was released. Apple Records staged a promotion and brought press reporters and photographers in a multicolored bus to a blue and white pavilion where the devotees had gathered with George. The first day, the record sold 70,000 copies. Within a few weeks, the devotees appeared on the popular TV show Top of the Pops, singing their song. It was at this auspicious time that Prabhupada finally arrived in London. With the cooperation of Apple Records and Lufthansa German Airlines, the devotees arranged a reception for him at London's Heathrow Airport. As soon as Prabhupada descended the stairs of the airplane, he was escorted to a car and driven to a VIP lounge, bypassing the formalities of immigration and customs. Prabhupada then went from the building to a gleaming white Rolls-Royce awaiting him outside, courtesy of John Lennon. When Prabhupada arrived at Tittenhurst, the devotees showed him to his room on the 2nd floor of the servants' quarters. The small room was chilly and damp, with a low table for a desk and wall-to-wall carpeting made from pieces of rug from the other rooms. When George, John and Yoko dropped by after Prabhupada's lunch, Shamasunda invited them to come up and meet him. Smiling graciously from behind his desk, Prabhupada asked his guests to enter and be seated. Here were 2 of the most famous people in the world, and Krishna wanted him to speak to them. Prabhupada began by quoting the verse from Bhagavad Gita, stating that anything that is accepted by leading persons, ordinary persons follow. So, by the grace of God, Prabhupada told them, you are leaders. Thousands of young men follow you. So if you give them something actually nice, the face of the world will change. He then told them directly that they should learn Krishna consciousness and help to teach it to the world. After more than an hour of conversation, Prabhupada distributed some prasadam to John, George, Yoko, and the few devotees in his room. John then said he had something to do, and he excused himself. As everyone was leaving, Yoko, walking down the stairs, turned to John and said, "Look how simply he is living. Could you live like that?" Prabhupada found living in the natural setting of Tittenhurst to be pleasant enough, but soon discovered that his host's way of life and his were incompatible. By late October, some of the devotees had moved to Berry Place, and Prabhupada became anxious to join them. Even though his quarters were incomplete, and temple renovation made 7 Berry Place noisy and hectic, Prabhupada decided to move in. One day, a Mr. Doyal phoned, representing a large Hindu society. He had heard the devotees wanted Radha Krishna deities, and he had a pair he would donate. Prabhupada immediately sent some devotees to see the deities. Radha and Krishna were white marble and stood about 3 feet high. When the devotees returned to the temple and told Prabhupada, he said, "Take me there at once." Accompanied by Shyamasundar Mukunda and Tamal Krishna, Prabhupada arrived by van at Mr. Doyal's home. After a brief conversation with Mr. Doyal, Prabhupada suddenly ordered the devotees to take the deities to the van, leaving Mr. Doyal wondering what had just happened. On the day of the installation of Radha and Krishna, many guests, Indians especially, crowded the temple responding to flyers and advertisements. Apple Records had supplied a professional florist who had decorated the room with floral arrangements. A BBC television crew was on hand to videotape the ceremony. Srila Prabhupada named the deities Sri Sri Radha-Londonisvara, which means Radha Krishna, the controllers of London. This was the culmination of months of effort. Actually, years of planning had preceded this auspicious occasion. Now that an authorized temple of Radha and Krishna was preaching Krishna consciousness in London, the dream of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had been fulfilled.